1, 2, 3, 4.
This is William Goldsmith, longtime Northwest-based drummer for the bands Sunny Day Real Estate, The Fire Theft, and many others. He also was the original drummer for the Foo Fighters. I first heard William when I moved from LA to Seattle back in the 90s. The local radio station 107.7, which was the equivalent to my former go-to station in LA, KROQ, was blasting Sunny Day's debut record, Diary. I was caught up by the band's amazing whisper to all-out assault dynamics, the unique frequency of Jeremy Innick's voice, and the monstrous playing of the drums. With hits like Seven and Circles, the first record, Diary, became a staple of the Northwest sound at the time. Then came the Untitled Pink record, which didn't get the attention it deserved, but I have a soft spot in my heart for it. Just one of those moment-in-time things. What I noticed about the following two records, How to Feel Something On and The Rising Tide, besides the overall polish of the songwriting, was Williams' more refined and skillful playing. There was more space and solid tempos, but with the same passion and anger. Some called Sunny Day the creators of emo. I don't know about that. They were definitely surfing the wave of this new punk, yet pop, yet slow, yet fast, sing, scream genre. Maybe it should have been called singo. It was just another branch of rock and roll, but it had to be labeled, I guess. I was working as an audio engineer and playing in a lot of bands in Seattle at the time, and I watched Sunny Day's career from the other side of town, so to speak. That band made amazing music, but it seemed their time together grew tumultuous, which is not uncommon. When you're dealing with creative types with egos, forced to be around each other every day in a van or bus for years, it's going to happen. Right around the time when my band, Muzzle, started to gain ground and label interest, I heard of these secret tapes and secret shows of this new band headed by Dave Grohl. They called themselves the Foo Fighters. Then, all of a sudden, local radio started hammering our skulls with this first record. It was raw, energetic, and full of hooks. Our band actually ran into Dave at a gift shop at the Roosevelt Hotel during our video shoot period down in Hollywood. The Foo Fighters were in the middle of their first major US tour. Not too long after that, William and the Foo Fighters rocketed to the top, and I was sleeping on a tour van floor in odd places like Fort Oglethorpe, Georgia, and Lake Texahoma. Fast forward a couple years, William departed from the Foo Fighters for mysterious reasons. I'll let the audience determine what that was all about. I'm just here to pay my respects to a killer drummer and someone who's influenced my playing, or at least we shared the same influences. William also played in The Fire Theft with Jeremy and Nate from Sunny Day. It had a very familiar sound with a few new components, new time signatures, and maybe a lighter touch. Fire Theft immediately took off, with plenty of local Seattle radio support. They did a lot of touring and slots on late-night TV shows. After taking a long hiatus from music, including moving down to California and back, William is again rocking the kit in his new band, Assertion. Assertion features Brian Gorder of Slaughter, Blind Guides, and the Speens on bass, Justin Tominga of Pig Snout, Blind Guides, and Dying Trades on guitars and vocals, and William on the kit. You can find Assertion on their Bandcamp site. Look for songs like Supervised Suffering and Set Fire. They bring back a complex yet powerful 90s sound with plenty of peaks and valleys, smooth vocals breaking into screams, and slamming yet carefully constructed drum parts. A full length will be coming out soon, so look for it. William took some time to catch up with me. Here he is. Thanks for participating. So I started to, first of all, I've known you we haven't officially met in person, but I've been around in town since the mid-90s, back when you were starting your thing with Sunny Day. That's right when I moved from LA to Seattle. And then I heard you guys, on the Young and the Restless or some local show. And I was like, wow, that's something totally cool and different. And that's what initially attracted me to your playing. And then I think our manager might have known you back in the day. His name was Curtis Orthman. He was up on Capitol. He was let's see. He was a good friend of Marco Collins, and
Okay.
Marco
Yeah,
was
yeah,
always kind of the head of anything cool that's breaking. He had the energy behind all that local stuff.
yeah, yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, and after that, I played in this band called Muzzle, Vendetta Red, Curse of the North, and now I'm playing with Duff McKagan and his band Loaded.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I've heard Muzzle. So
Yeah. So
yeah.
that was kind of, we crossed paths a few times back in the day. I remember like right when we got signed to Reprise, you guys were staying at the Roosevelt at the same time, and
Oh, okay.
our singer ran into Dave in the gift shop or something. Our singer has a tattoo of that logo that Tarantino uses for his films on his forearm.
Yeah.
And I met each other there. But then I was like, I just remember the energy of that time. Like I just knew you guys were just gonna take off. And this is the first time I was in a fancy hotel. I can't believe we got signed and we're in a van and blah blah blah.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
I do remember those old days though, like the secret shows. Like even before Velvet Elvis, I knew there was some crazy stuff going on.
Oh, for Foo Fighters stuff?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that was we played a show above West Marine Products on what I don't think it's not there anymore. Yeah. But there was a bunch of warehouse spaces above West Marine Products on Mercer.
Yeah.
And right before getting on the freeway there, and there was I knew a bunch of people that lived in all the different warehouse spaces up there. So we played in a guy named Troy Layton's warehouse space, and I think that was our first show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that was our first show, and then I know we played a show in Portland, and I don't know if that was the next one, and then I know we played the Velvet Elvis, I think, or something. Yeah.
Wasn't there a show where there was actually a really young person in your band, at least for one show? Was it a little girl or a little boy, someone's son or daughter back in that time? I just remember it might have been like a one-off.
Man,
under a different name.
I usually have a pretty good memory for that stuff, but at the same time, sometimes I'll not remember things. Yeah. I mean, maybe my memory's a lot
too.
worse.
Maybe I'm making it up, and it was a while ago. So
no, never know.
So I've reached out. I had a crash after a year ago. I was playing with Roger Fisher of Heart, and he's trying to put this Heart band back together and do all the classics. And I live in out in the woods towards Maple Valley, and my van flipped, so I got ejected and ended up having spinal cord surgery. And so I'm on the comeback. I'm like 75% back now, which is crazy because I should have been dead anyway. I just reached out to my drum heroes or drummers that inspired me.
Sure.
When I was when I was trying to get better and starting to play clubs and stuff. And most of them said yes. So it's like, now I've got this thing where like all these super, Hall of Famers and heavy hitters are like joining me to inspire people, because there's so much bad news out there.
I know.
If I can get drum heroes to just, say a few words and inspire some folks, it's all good by me.
Yeah.
So it's more like the niche is kind of like, you've been touring forever. You've been in a million bands. And what I love about your style is just, the aggressiveness, the heavy hitting, and you are super dynamic, through the Sunny Day stuff, the Fire Theft stuff, the Fighters stuff. Super dynamic, but man, you're also, it seems to me, you're really emotional. I'm a really emotional drummer too. You're connecting with the songs, and you can feel that. Every drummer has a different swing, and I could line you up with whatever 50, 100 other drummers, and here you hit the snare, and I could definitely recognize your style, So, and that's a really unique thing to have, when you have your own sound, when you have your own swing, the way you hit the snare. It's a special thing, and you become like, get me someone who's like, what is it? There's like 3 stages of fame. Who's William Goldsmith? Get me William Goldsmith, and then get me someone who sounds like William Goldsmith. And then that's like the ultimate compliment.
Yeah. No, Bruce Lee, wasn't it Bruce Lee who was talking about the ability to do something is different than the ability to honestly express yourself, like really authentically express yourself as a whole. is a whole different thing. And I think that, I think that's what you're talking about, to actually have the energy of you completely unbridled coming through with whatever art form, you're engaged in. So.
Yeah. I lost you there for a second, but it'll probably click back on.
Sorry. Yeah.
There you go. Almost.
Now I can't see you. I don't know. Oh, there you are. Sorry about that. Hopefully that doesn't happen again.
I had so we go on to auditions sometimes, and you talk to managers and stuff through email or on the phone. But I had a friend who played guitar in Third Eye Blind, and I started a side project with him, and he got to know me, intimately, playing close together and writing songs together. And post that, where I auditioned for big bands like Smashing Pumpkins or Perfect Circle or Offspring or whatever, he's like, make sure they get in a room with you. Like, I know they've heard you like word of mouth, but make sure they get in the room, because there's an energy that it's exchanged, rather than just listening to you on the record. I'm sure once players get in a room with you, it's a whole different vibe, just the transference of energy between humans, especially if you have a unique way you play. I think it makes all the difference.
Yeah.
So.
No. Yeah. No. I mean, you're talking about the if possible, the sort of egoless collaboration where there's like a communication to where everybody's input or contribution is what creates the ultimate end result.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a spiritual interaction. It's
and
like
if that piece is missing, then it's not the same.
Yeah. So like they were talking, sorry to keep using analogies, but there's, I can't remember the name of the three physicists that were on a train ride that got into a conversation, and that conversation between the three of them ended up resulting in what they call M theory, I think, which stands for mother theory or whatever. And, but that theory wouldn't exist without the collaboration and conversation and interaction that happened between those three scientists. So it's amazing when you can actually have that kind of authentic exchange between human beings that creates something that you wouldn't have been able to create if it was just somebody by themselves and telling everybody else what to do. That kind of thing.
Yeah, I get that. Hey, tell me about Assertion.
Assertion.
I love the tracks. Thanks for the tracks, by the way.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, I sent you you got the ones, the other ones aside from the links to the Bandcamp, right? Okay, cool. So I walked away. I sort of walked away and was almost kind of hiding from music for about 9 years.
Yeah.
And both hiding, but then also, then there was other things that were, like we've had to move a lot. Living in an area where I didn't know anybody for a while. We were living in California, Stockton, California. I didn't really know anyone.
Sure.
And also having kids, like everything else, that was everything else that was in whatever is in first place, shifted to second and third place once the kids came, because the kids are above and beyond everything, the most important things in your life. So people in your life. So then through observing Justin Tominga with his kids and the band he was doing with his kids, and also the fact that he teaches music to children that have autism. Mm-hmm. And our son, Logan, our 5-year-old son, has autism. So that really affected me, and it made me realize that I needed to bring that part of myself and share it with my kids, have it be a part of their lives, as opposed to just, pretending like it wasn't there, which is what I was doing for 9 years. So
does your son who has autism, is he learning music?
Well, he's 5.
Mm-hmm.
He, somebody was nice enough from Australia contacted me recently and asked if we wanted their son's little kid's drum kit. He was grown now. And I was like, yeah, that'd be great. And so they sent that over here. We've got it together. I put it together over there. And he's sat down on that. Both our 3-year-old and our 5-year-old, they'll sit down and they bang around, but they don't quite have the focus yet. But I mean,
it's a little young.
But yeah, but in time, I know that Logan, our 5-year-old who has autism, he has this uncanny ability to memorize melodies. So like he'll hear a song a few times and then he'll be able to sing it, and like, not the words, just the melody. He has speech delay, but he sings though. And he's hyper intelligent. He sees things and understands things that I think a lot of people don't.
Sure.
And
I have a small school here at the house called Loud House. I taught at a very large franchise previous to this, and then I had to break out and start my own thing. And I've worked with a lot of autistic kids, and they're definitely on another level, depending on what their specialty is.
Yeah. So yeah. But so I'm waiting to see. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But so back to the Assertion thing.
Yeah.
I contacted Justin. So originally he contacted my wife and he said, hey, do me a favor, tell your husband that, he contacted her through Facebook, whatever. And he said, will you tell your husband that I said that, thank you, because it was that first Sunny Day Record Diary that inspired me to try to learn how to play drums. And he plays drums, he plays guitar, he plays everything. But that's what inspired him to kind of start trying to play drums. So, and that's when she said to me, you should see some of the stuff he's posted. He's got a band with his kids. He teaches music to children, many of them with autism. So that's what really kind of got my attention. And I had an idea. I first of all, his band with his kids pissed out is really, really good. The songs are really, really, really good. They're simple, but they're very focused. They're very well written. They're very good songs. So I had this idea where I was trying to convince him to let me maybe play some shows with and sit in as like second drummer, backing up his daughter, and then sometimes his son. They switch off. And I was trying to get him to let me join their band, and then his daughter Dahlia said she said no, because she said it was a family band, which I respected. So, but anyway, so that's how that went. But then she's become more open to it, and so I think we might do some things in the future. And we've gotten together and played, me with his, with his whole band with his kids. And but then Justin and I started getting together. He started coming out to my place, and we just started playing, and he was basically kind of like, kicking me. I would go see his band with Brian Gorder, who's also in Assertion with us. They have another band called Blind Guides, and I would go see them play, and Justin would be like, so when are we gonna, when do you want to get together and play? And I'd be like, okay. And actually, when I saw Blind Guides play, I saw Brian Gorder also for the first time, and I was like, wow. I was like, man, I want to play with that bass player. I was like, I really want to play with that bass player. He had that kind of energy that I can only kind of like. So Andy Kerr, who was in No Means No, but he ended up leading the band. But he was on that record Wrong, Sex Mad, Small Parts Isolated and Destroyed, and all the other records before 0 + 2 = 1. And his energy, there's just a fire that guy has that you can't put it into words. It's just like this thing. It's a fire. It's like and No Means No. I mean, they're still a great band, but for me, it was just never the same after he left. But so Brian Gorder's got that thing as a bass player, and I was just like, wow, he's like Andy Kerr on bass, but energy, So it's really cool. So then when Justin and I started playing together, then I was like, it'd be cool if Brian came over and played with us too. So then Brian came over, next thing we knew, we just started writing songs, and songs were almost kind of writing themselves.
Right.
Then we started recording the record here. We were going to be on like a podcast we got asked to be on, and they asked us if we would play a couple songs if we had any recorded, and we only had like 2 days until the interview, and we were like, shit. So we basically set up mics and basically recorded stuff, and then we just started doing that. And as time has gone on, Justin has been evolving his ability to actually produce in a way, and I guess you could say, you know, like it's producing as opposed to just engineering. And
sounds pretty slick.
And he's been getting better and better at it, and so we've just been working on it. It's been a slower process because, you know, we're learning as we go and improving as we go, and sometimes we'll like get to a new breakthrough with a new song as far as mixing, but then we'll have to go back and then like remix some old songs, and we still have to retrack a few songs. Justin was out of town for a while, then we were out of town for like almost a month, and then Justin recently was in so he basically is healing up, so yeah, so he, you know, it's going to be about a month. So
do you have a full length out, or is that what you're working towards?
That's what we're working towards now.
Yep.
So, but we have the songs up on Bandcamp.
Yeah, let me repeat. So it's Assertion on Bandcamp, and there's a couple tracks up there.
Yeah, I think there's like four tracks up there right now.
Set Fire and Supervised Suffering.
Yeah.
Those are the ones I have, and they're both, you know, it takes me back. It's a sound that takes me back that I really enjoy.
Yeah.
You guys are on the right track.
Yeah, those songs are really like that. Supervised Suffering is a deeply personal song for everybody. And then what's cool is, so like we were talking about the egoless collaboration thing, and well, that's what's cool about this band is it's like that's been the experience. So, you know, it's basically been everybody working together. But I do have to say though, with that Set Fire song, Justin had basically written that in 2017, way before I met him, and he'd been sitting on it for like since then for 3 years, and he played it for me, and I was like, are you thinking about doing anything with this song? And he was like, I don't know, I'm not sure, I've been kind of feeling weird about it. And I was like, I was like, well, just objectively, I just want to tell you that this is one of those songs that's got kind of this special thing, and if you would be into it, it'd be cool to reapproach it, you know, with this band if you want to do that. And he was like, yeah, I was going to see if you want to. I was like, yes, I absolutely do. So all the other songs we've written collaboratively, but I mean, as far as the actual just song structure, I mean, I wrote the drum part that I put on there, but everything else, that song is all Justin. He came up with that like in 2017, and I basically just encouraged him to bring it out. So yeah, that song is pretty special. So, well,
I mean, your playing is still amazing.
Thanks. Well, his kids sing on that song too, actually.
On Set Fire?
Yeah. His kids are singing at the end with him. So you'll hear. So yeah, you'll hear his voice, and then you'll hear him and his daughter's voice. Then you'll hear more of just his daughter's voice. And
I was wondering if you were doing any of the backing tracks.
Yeah, I am on some of the songs on Supervised Suffering. I am.
Cool.
I'm doing a lot, some of the lower vocals, but then all the harmonies though that are in Supervised Suffering, Justin did all those harmonies. So, and it's funny because he'd never ever tried to do harmonies. He was always convinced that he wouldn't be able to do it. And his father is a really, really musically sort of like literate person. His father like knows his stuff, and he would always throw up like ideas for Justin to try harmony wise, like different scales. Justin's like, I don't even know what you're talking about. But then Justin like tried it, and then all of a sudden was doing these harmonies. I was like, man, I wouldn't have even thought to do that harmony, because I'd just be like, oh, you know, an octave up. But I mean, he's doing harmonies that are like these third harmonies that I wouldn't have even thought of. So it's really cool. So, but yeah.
Well, I hope everyone, please check out the Bandcamp page and coach them along. Like right now is a hard time to do much, but
I know. I know.
you
That's
know,
why.
you can
Yeah.
at least prepare, and
We were
write.
we were supposed to go on tour,
Yeah.
and now it's, that got canceled. And then on top of that, a large portion, the majority of the places that we were going to play are now permanently closed. Like they've gone out of business. So it's like,
Yeah.
even whatever, even if, we, whatever if our hands are cut free, then we got to wait for places to just businesses to open for us to like actually plan,
I heard that Slim's Last Chance might be open or something weird like that a couple weeks
Really?
ago. Yeah. I gotta investigate through the grapevine. Maybe it's on the down low.
It's ironic. You know what's ironic is that was where we played our first show.
Yeah. Yeah, Celeste is awesome. She came and visited me at the hospital.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Yeah, I can't wait till the full length comes out. If you wouldn't mind, if I can touch on just a couple older things, and you could just say, "Nah, I don't want to talk about it," or whatever. Are you still in contact with any of the Sunny Day guys, or
Just Jeremy?
just Jeremy? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I ran into, not that it's either here or there, my other band Vendetta Red reunited, and we did a West Coast thing.
Yeah, I know Vendetta Red.
Dan is his club out in Spokane. It was kind of fun. He's very hands-on. He does a good job there.
So you played at Dan's place out there?
Yeah, it was probably
cool.
a year and a half, 2 years ago.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
No, I haven't seen Dan since 2010. It's been 10 years. Yeah.
Yeah. Seems to be found his niche out there.
Yeah, that's good.
Concerning, just as a funny, you don't have to answer, there was this thing about like you guys never playing California, and it was a mystery.
Yeah. Ironically enough, there's only one person that could really answer that question, and that's Dan.
Oh, okay.
Because that was his call, and he never ever explained the reason why to us.
Yeah, I gotcha.
So, yeah.
And the records, I said that when I first moved from LA to Seattle and I heard you guys for the first time, I was like, this is crazy. There's so many cool elements to this band. The hyper energy of it, the dynamics and your drumming and, the vocal range and all that. And then you go through phases. You're in Seattle, you go from band to band. And there was a phase in between bands where I was just up on Capitol Hill playing pool and drinking a lot. But that's when the Pink record came out. And that, for some reason, that was my go-to record, playing pool all the time and drinking beer, is the Pink record. So for some reason, I gravitate to that record. I'm not sure what the experience was like making it, but I mean, of course, the songs are great. It doesn't get the credit, that it deserves. But and as far as your playing, as you progress, I don't know if you discovered this or realized this, but as another drummer towards the end, the last two records, your playing really got refined and smooth. And
that's the weird thing is like, you're like a self-taught, musician, and you come from basically just playing in hardcore bands, and then all of a sudden you start sort of doing this experiment. And at that time, the idea of actually even making a record was not even on that wasn't even a possibility. That wasn't on the table. There's just no way. It was beyond our reach, of actually like releasing something. We maybe sort of like, we eventually would release something on, maybe a really small label, like a 7-inch or something. But ultimately, like releasing an album that people would actually have a chance to even hear wasn't even an option. So, oh man, I totally lost my train of thought.
I was talking about how your playing got more refined.
Oh yeah. So sorry. So essentially, we did get that opportunity, and we were really young. So there, basically, people were literally sort of watching you sort of over time, slowly kind of try to figure out how to, get better control over your instrument.
Mhm.
And so, so it's basically just people sort of watching you learn how to play or hearing you learn how to play over time. So yeah, no, it was definitely, I became more obsessed with um, pocket uh, and groove and, trying to be more tasteful, have more self-control, pick my moments, stuff like that, like
Yeah.
do, because I mean, for years it was just like total, like just ADHD nightmare drumming, you know what I mean, in a way.
Yeah.
So, it was interesting in its way, I suppose. But, but yeah, I can't even listen to that first Sunny Day record, and really haven't really been able to listen to the Pink record either, just because I'm just like, oh,
Yeah.
like, there's
I
some
hear you.
stuff I'm just like, oh man,
Sometimes
so
it could be an engineer or a producer that can help, gather whatever it is. I used to kitchen sink it too. When you're in bands that have more freedom, then you're seldom are you told you're doing, stuff wrong, especially if the other band members are just singers or they're just guitar players and they don't have all of the elements of making a song. So they're letting drum stuff slide where maybe a drummer would hear something and be like, oh, I
yeah,
don't know about that. So like once money was on the line, engineers like Mike Plotnikoff, who did AC/DC and like everything, a lot of that Vendetta Red stuff was 8 on the floor, single bass drummers acting like a double kick.
yeah,
And
that's, yeah,
he would always say,
that's,
watch your flams, Burke, watch your flams, Burke, like through the mic, and it
yeah,
just
yeah,
keep me in check.
yeah.
And or Howard Benson, the producer, you're playing like an orchestra, it's not necessary. Just put a cymbal there, and it
Yeah,
just makes you think differently. Once, number one, when money is on the line, but number two, if you do want to expand your drumming horizons, if you do want to be a better player, if you do actually care about it, you'll listen to stuff like that. People who've had gold records,
yeah. No, I've definitely learned. Yeah, no, I've definitely learned through interactions and stuff. Like, that. I mean, working with Brad Wood is always great. He did the first 2 Sunny Day records, and he also did the Fire Theft record, and but then also, like, I had a band called Brawley Banks that nobody's ever heard of. I'll send you some stuff. That's actually some of the coolest stuff I've ever done. That was in 2000 and from 2008 to 2009, I think, or 2008 actually, till 2010 we broke up. And we recorded basically a record, but there was no vocals put on it, and so that was kind of a bummer. But just the instrumental tracks on their own are some of the most inspired stuff I've ever done in my life. So
I'd love
nobody's ever heard it. But yeah, it's working with Jason Schwartz, who was the guitar player's brother, Justin Schwartz, who was in Brawley Banks with me. His brother, Jason, was engineering and ultimately was going to be producing that stuff. And interactions with him were really, really good. And, he had great input. And sort of like getting an objective perspective and kind of learning. I've gotten to the point where I'm like really hyper focused on like a simple beat, but kick drum placement and patterns in a way that that are kind of unexpected, but then also don't distract from the song. You know what I mean? Like, and I'll totally like hyper focus on that stuff to the point where I almost drive myself crazy, where I'm like, can't see the forest for the trees, whatever. And I'm just like, God, which one? I don't know.
It takes discipline not to show off if you have the capabilities of showing off, in order to play. I talk about this a lot to a lot of the drummers that I have on. In order to play for the song, it takes a lot of discipline to hold back and don't crowd it. I'm sorry, but I forgot the first track on How to Feel Something On, but I was listening to the first track on that record.
Pillars.
Yeah. Pillars. And you have that beat. It could almost be like a break beat, the way it repeats. Yeah, the
Yeah.
section repeats, and I was like expecting like, okay, here comes something crazy, and it never really happened. You're
Yeah,
just
yeah.
keeping it. You got the open hi-hat pattern thing, and I was like, this is so rad. We're like 3 minutes in, and he's still locked down.
Yeah, no, that was almost like a stubborn decision.
Yeah.
I was like, there's going to be some songs where I'm going to stay here, you know,
Yeah.
and I'm going to bring it up, but I'm going to stay here. So, you know, so yeah.
Actually, sometimes the drumming kids that I have who are super talented, but they have a bit of ADD, I actually have a thing where I time them for 3 minutes, never changing the beat to see if they can do it, you know?
Yeah.
And I have like these little coins that they could put on a chain, you know, one's for like note values, one's for how long can I play this beat or whatever.
Well, that's cool.
Because if I could tell they're serious about it, not that there's a music industry anymore, but if they're serious about being in a band or whatever, that they're going to have to learn, you know, that kind of, you can't just flail, you know, for half an hour and then you're cool and then get a paycheck, you know. You got to play to the band. If you want the kids down the street to play with you, you can't always just show off, you know. So
yeah, I mean, you know, it can be just as much of a challenge to or even more so to actually like really search for a tempo and a pocket, you know, and a groove that is the right thing, and being able to keep it there. That's a whole nother level, a challenging level, you know, that is just as hard, if not sometimes more difficult than just going off, you know. So yeah, for sure.
A lot of the songs that I hear you play on, whatever band it is, the drums seem to be really present in the mix. Not only like the velocity that you're hitting the drums, but it seems to be like front and center, almost competing with the vocal, and that's fine with me. Mm-hmm. So I associate you with big toms for some reason. Maybe that's not true, but and I've seen a lot of live images and some of your kids. That one's not so much. That's a
14. That's a 14.
Yeah, that's pretty standard.
Yeah.
I saw one early on, you know, Foo Fighters, the festival thing, and your rack looks so small. And I'm wondering if that was like your decision just to keep everything like super tight, or if that was backline.
No, that must have been a rented
backline kit.
Yeah, that must have been just like a backline kit that because when I was in the Foo Fighters, I always used a 15-inch rack drum.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It's probably whatever the SIR is in South America. They line that one up for you.
Yeah, definitely.
Expecting it to break in the middle of the song.
Yeah. No, that was always a difficult thing, having to like play on a kit that you had nothing to do with picking. It's just there, and you know, that can be tough.
You be involved with so many kids and loving music like you do, and being like a master of your instrument.
I wouldn't say that.
Well, I'll say it. So I have a thing at my school, Loud House, they call it the drummer's tool belt. And it's just basic things, say like a finite set, like 10 things you can bring into any room around the world, and you'll be able to communicate with other musicians. Just to practical things every drummer should know, like, you know, just warming up with 16th notes and keeping them even, and paradiddle and flam and double stroke. I have these fills called Naughty Boy and Grasshopper, which are like two of the most popular fills in rock. Shuffle versus straight. Don't be a jerk. Things like that. What in your opinion, what would you add to that as like an important one or two practical things if you wanted to be in a band and keep that job as a young person?
Listen to what everyone else is doing.
Yeah, listening for sure. Yeah.
Obviously, don't be a jerk. Be open to suggestion, but don't let yourself be pushed around. You know what I mean? So, you know, that goes with the egoless collaboration. Like you know the difference. You know, if someone's being a jerk and telling you something different, you know. Oh, another thing I would say is that you have to approach this kind of delicately, but if you have the right group of people, which it is very difficult to find.
Yes, very unique.
very, very, very difficult. Like, so yeah, so don't be discouraged if it's not the case. But I mean, if someone else has a suggestion, or if you have an idea, it's always a good idea to try those out rather than stubbornly refuse. It's always a good idea to try something out, and that way you'll know for sure, and everybody will know for sure whether that's the right direction to go or not, you know. So that's another thing.
Try them out with an open mind too. Don't just be begrudgingly, yes, I'm doing what you asked me to do and I hate it.
Yeah. But I mean, and that can help with the egoless collaboration. Yeah. But I mean, yeah, you have to be open to it, to trying it out, because if you just do it, but you don't do it well, then obviously it's not going to sound right. Yeah. So, you know, don't sabotage it. You have to be open to it. But that's kind of the part of the sort of give and take and collaboration thing that works. The other thing I would say when it comes to recording is that it's really important to be able to record with a click and without a click. And if you are going to use a click, I would recommend not using hard, abrasive cowbell sounds. I would recommend using, you know, if you do them on a drum machine, just hi-hat hits or tambourine, or, you know, if someone's really good at programming that stuff, they can even have a mixture of things, but make sure that it's more of a soft guide as opposed to like a whip.
Yeah.
You know, like trying to, you know, treating like a horse or whatever, you know what I mean? That's one thing. And
I used to love the crank, and loud guitar bands you could visibly hear the cowbell, like pushing my headphones, going. Wow. I used to love it so loud. And then, you know, as you mature, you understand that it's not necessary.
Yeah. I mean, if there's some people that can work well with that. For me, it's always more helpful to have softer sounds that are more of a guide. Rather than like, you know, this thing that you're like, oh, you know what I mean? It's like, it's going, stay here. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So it can help you relax into it. And then the most important thing is breathe, I'd say. Breathe, like while you're playing, try to keep constant sort of like in through your nose and out through your mouth, sort of like rhythm of breathing going, because that's going to help with your ability to try to stay relaxed. Because I used to not breathe. I used to basically take a breath in, hold it, and then pant, you know. Yeah. You know, I was very, very, I was very angry for many reasons. And so my playing was an expression of a lot of anger and frustration, a lot of things. And so then I would act sort of according to that, you know, and I wouldn't be breathing properly. So trying to learn how to relax, I guess, is really important. That took me years and years and years to get a handle on, you know. That's
cool. So, I've had so many people on it. That's the first time I've heard that. I really like that angle.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I had to also because I had such horrible injuries. My hands were basically like I would just constantly be losing the feeling in both my hands. And I couldn't lift my arms past this point without my shoulders, just the pain in my shoulders.
What period of time was this?
That was I guess it started really getting bad about 5 or 6 months into the 17 months of touring that I did with Foo Fighters. So Foo Fighters toured for 17 months. And that definitely really took a huge toll.
Yeah.
I was already having problems, but that really made things a lot worse. And that
just comes from you growing up self-taught and just bashing it out and all the scar tissue building up and all the circulation blockage. And then finally you came to a point, which I did exactly what you're talking about. I came to a point where I'm on stage on tour and the sticks are coming out of my hands. You have no idea what's going on. You're cramping up. You think, you know, it's so severe that you can't come back from it. You know, you're just like, what do I do? So at that point, what did you do?
So then after I left the Foo Fighters, then I played with a guy named Pete Kramiak, who was in a band called Rain Like the Sound of Trains and Verbal Assault, and we recorded a bunch of stuff. And then Sunny Day got back together, and I was still having the problems, but I just was kind of fighting through it, basically. And then what I did was, right around the end of so when Sunny Day had already done The Rising Tide, our fourth record, and then we were moving into starting to work on the Fire Theft stuff, that's when I met with this guy named Kwong. He has a juice bar, organic juice bar place in Kirkland called Green Line. So I went there, and he turned me on to this stuff called Henry's Organic Internal Cleanser. And so what I did was I cleaned my digestive system out, and that right there had a huge impact on everything, which is strange. But cleaning my digestive system out really was the biggest part of me trying to turn things around. I quit drinking alcohol.
Yeah.
I started drinking 12 ounces of wheatgrass a day. I wouldn't recommend anyone do that. I would say I was drinking 4 ounces every 2 hours.
Whoa.
And then I started rolfing, which is basically where they break down your muscle tissue and then
pull it off the bone.
Yeah. I mean, like literally, like through pressure and time, like literally break down your muscle tissue and reset it to where it goes back to, I guess, what she refers to as your original patent that it was at. And I did that, and then I did martial arts training for 7 years. Wow. 7 days a week for 7 years, except for then when Fire Theft started touring, then I had to actually tour. I had to train 5 days a week while we were on the road, and I would just have to find a place to go and do it. So, wow. But then aside from that, I was in a program where I was actually going to a school, and that's what helped me with the breathing and trying to become more aware of my body and relaxing. So it was that combination of all those things. And the rolfing, I literally, this woman, her name is Tina, her name is Tina Tesh, and she's from Tasmania. And she is, she literally rebuilt me. She literally like broke my body down and rebuilt me. And I got rolfed. So usually people do about 10 sessions, but I did 3,000 sessions over a period of like 8 years. So
why did you go to rolfing? Did you try other deep tissue stuff or Reiki or anything else? You did?
Yeah.
Was it a reference?
Yeah. I was trying to do acupuncture. I was trying all these things. None of them were working. But cleaning my digestive system out really started helping a lot. My pain in my shoulders started to really go away after cleaning my digestive system out. As crazy as that sounds, but I was still having some problems. And it was actually after I started the martial arts training, they said it's going to take 3 months for your body to adjust to what we're doing to it right now. So they were like, and I was, my body was just like going like, holy shit, you're starting martial arts training 7 days a week, at the age of, I don't know how old I was. I guess I was 28, 29, I think. My body was just like, what are you doing? And I was actually getting more problems, having more problems because of that as well. And so that's when one of the trainers or teachers basically said, have you heard of rolfing? And I said, no. And he said, I get rolfed every Saturday. He goes, here's her number, go try it out. And that was, I highly, highly, highly recommend rolfing to anyone. It's not easy to do.
Yeah.
Because it's really painful. But what it does teach you how to do is also, it goes back to the breathing thing.
Yeah.
It teaches you how to focus on your breathing and breathe steadily in and out and try to not panic and sort of relax into the discomfort. And then that's when she's able to actually get in and get the tissue to sort of release, and she can go in there and start to work on it. So
I guess I'm going to a guy who kind of does a combination of that. He does a raw deep tissue somewhere in between. So I do know about, the elbow with full body weight and having to breathe through stuff. I'm trying everything under the sun now. I'm doing acupuncture, electricity, all kinds of meds, and the deep tissue stuff. This thing called muscle activation technique, which has to go in a sequence. Like even if you have something in your neck, he starts with your toes and works his way up. So
wow.
Over in Redmond, it's pretty specific. Like I tried to do an interview over there at the gym, and they're like, "No, we can't reveal any of the information how we're trained here."
Wow.
But definitely, I was over there yesterday. Muscle activation technique, and they're all like, they work on fighters and they work on Olympians and things like that. But yeah, I'll try everything I can get my hands on these days.
Yeah.
Regular old ice isn't hacking it anymore.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Yeah, the other issue is all that stuff isn't cheap, you know. So
a lot of the experimental stuff isn't covered by insurance. So
no, definitely not. I'm gonna have to remember that though. What is that called? Muscle activation technique?
Yeah, MAT. I'll send you my guy's contact. I saw him yesterday. We're gonna start on some new things. And they're all like, my wife trains in jiu-jitsu several times a week, and she competes. And between her gym and this place, the mat place, it's kind of a cool little fighting therapeutic family we got going on.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Cool. Yeah, you covered. I was going to cover the theme of the show, which is like the injury thing, and you dove right into it. So I appreciate that.
Sure thing. Yeah.
What part of your reunion? I forgot about this. What part of your reunion remember with Joe Skyward, Joe Bass? He jumped in for a little while.
Yeah. So Jeff Palmer played bass on the How It Feels to Be Something on record, and then he decided that he didn't want to go on tour with us. So then we had, I think, 2 weeks to find someone before we left for tour.
Yeah.
And so we contacted Joe, and Joe learned, I think, 19 songs in a week and a half. And I don't know how he did it, but he did it.
That was his reputation for sure.
Yeah, and that just blew me away. So yeah, and unfortunately he's passed away.
Yeah,
a few years ago. But yeah,
I was able to see him in the lineup. I went down to LA for a year and I came back. It was at UW, like in the ballroom. And playing with Death Cab, and they were going through a drummer thing at that point. It was a killer show. I loved it. But I remember I had right after Muzzle broke up, I made this demo with this producer Kip Bielman locally, and I played all the instruments on it and sang. And
I know Kip Bielman. I know.
Yeah. I did it at his studio at the time down Ballard or something, and Marco put it on the Young and the Restless like right away, and it was like this cassette demo. And I was at your show, and then Ben was at the merch table right after the show, and I like walked up and I was like, "Hey, you're looking for a drummer?" And I gave him this cassette, like I knew anybody. And he looked at me weird, like, "Okay, buddy."
Yeah.
The cassette. But just a little moment in time that I thought, yeah, Joe is like, his reputation was, he's like the A-list guy to go to in the Midwest for especially that kind of situation.
Yeah. No, he definitely bailed us out. And then when we did the Rising Tide tour, it was just back with just Jeremy and Dan and I. Jeremy actually played bass on that record.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you guys are in contact. I'm sure he's always writing.
Yeah. He's busy, and he's doing his stuff. But yeah, no, Jeremy and I are in contact on a relatively regular basis. So.
Cool. Yeah. Well, man, I really appreciate you spending some time. I know people are going to seeing you and hearing about your new band. I just wanted to remind everyone.
Oh, thank you.
Over at Bandcamp, Assertion, they've got a couple tracks. Actually, go ahead and buy them. If you go over to Assertion on Bandcamp, why don't you buy those tracks?
Oh, that's nice of you.
Support this band.
Thanks.
Yeah. And I'll edit this up and send it over to you if you're interested and show you the other interviews that I've done.
Cool. Awesome.
Drum heroes. Anything you need, you just let me know, man. Just like a while back, you needed a place to put your drums or whatever. I got plenty of space. I got like 7 kits in here. So.
Wow. Holy cow. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is our setup here.
Nice. PV proud. PV proud.
Yeah. And then this is the the workstation where we basically run all the mics through the snake over here.
Yeah.
And and then we're able to get actually reasonable sounds in this room. So and then Justin we use this closet here as an isolation booth.
Sure. That's a vocal booth.
Yeah. No, just actually no, for his guitar.
Okay.
And we just do the vocals here, but yeah. So yeah.
Cool,
Man.
Hey, William, it's good to meet you officially. Thanks
nice to
again.
meet you. Thanks.
And
good luck on your journey, man. I know that it's not easy. So
yeah, it's a lot of nerve stuff. It's brand new adventure.
Yeah, I've actually been having some problems with my legs the past several years where like about 3 times a year I go into these massive spasms where I literally am like paralyzed and I can't move. So I think I need to do some more work as well. So
some magic I discovered in an Australia festival. A masseuse told me to start taking magnesium immediately and just keep pumping it. And I swear to God, the very next night I had no spasm problems. Just over the counter magnesium.
Really?
Popping it. It's for the muscle spasms. My hands were cramping up. The sticks were sliding out. When I wasn't hitting the kick drum, they would be shaking. And it was 100 degrees every day, and I drank a lot of alcohol, and I didn't drink any water.
Yeah.
But
that explains why my brother-in-law Momo, his name, my wife's brother, after the last spasm I had, he went and bought me a bottle of magnesium. So there it is. So that explains it. So he knew. So yeah.
Yep.
So thank you, Momo.
Yeah. All right, dude. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, man.
Take
Thank
care
you.
of the kids. Bye.
All right.